In the vast expanse of the universe, where stars twinkled like diamonds scattered across an endless velvet canvas, there existed a planet named Xylora. This was no ordinary world. It shimmered with hues unknown to human eyes and thrummed with energy that seemed alive. The inhabitants of Xylora were known as the Xyloans, beings who had mastered the art of manipulating matter and time itself. They were tall, their skin glowing faintly in shades of silver and gold, and their eyes sparkled with intelligence far beyond what most civilizations could comprehend. At the heart of this advanced society stood Princess Leora, the youngest daughter of King Veyron and Queen Seraphina. She was beloved by her people not just for her beauty, her hair cascaded down her back like molten starlight, but also for her fierce spirit and insatiable curiosity about the cosmos. Unlike many royals on Xylora, who preferred to stay within the safety of their crystalline palaces, Leora often ventured into space aboard her sleek spacecraft, exploring distant galaxies and learning from other species. One day, while poring over ancient texts in the royal archives, Leora stumbled upon something that would change everything. Tales of Earth, a small blue-green planet teeming with life. Humans fascinated her, not because they possessed extraordinary powers or technology, but because of their resilience, creativity, and capacity for love despite their flaws. Their stories spoke of sacrifice, bravery, and connection, things she found oddly compelling compared to the cold perfection of her own world. Her fascination deepened when she discovered recordings of Earth's music. There was something raw and emotional about it, unlike the structured symphonies of Xylora. One night, under the twin moons of her home planet, she played a recording of a human voice singing softly about longing and loss. It stirred something deep inside her, a yearning she couldn't quite name. That moment marked the beginning of an idea so outrageous, so scandalous, that even thinking about it made her pulse quicken. Leora decided then and there that if she ever took a mate, it wouldn't be one of the polished, predictable princes from neighboring planets. No, she wanted someone different. Someone real. Someone human. When Leora announced her decision during a Grand Council meeting, the room fell silent. A silence so profound it felt like the air itself had been sucked out. Her father, King Veyron, leaned forward in his throne, his usually calm expression replaced by one of bewilderment. Beside him, Queen Seraphina pressed her fingertips to her temples, clearly trying to process what she'd just heard. The assembled nobles exchanged glances, some whispering behind jeweled hands, others gaping openly at the princess. "But why?" asked Lord Terran, the king's chief advisor, breaking the stunned quiet. His voice carried both disbelief and a hint of panic. "Princess, surely you understand the implications of such a demand. A human. They are primitive, unpredictable creatures." "They are not primitive," Leora shot back, her tone sharp yet controlled. "They are passionate, resourceful, and deeply connected to each other in ways we've forgotten how to be. Have you seen their art? Heard their music? Felt the way they fight for hope even when all seems lost?" The queen sighed heavily. "Leora, my dear, I admire your adventurous spirit, but this is unprecedented. Our alliances rely on strategic unions, not whimsical choices based on poetry." "It's not whimsy, mother," Leora insisted, standing taller. "It's conviction. If I am to rule alongside you someday, I want a partner who challenges me, inspires me, and reminds me of what truly matters. Not another Xyloan prince whose sole purpose is to consolidate power." Her words sparked murmurs throughout the chamber. Some nodded thoughtfully, intrigued by the notion of challenging tradition, while others shook their heads in disapproval. Lady Nyx, a particularly vocal member of the council, rose dramatically, her shimmering robes pooling around her feet. "And what happens when the humans learn of our existence? Do you think they'll welcome us with open arms? Or will they fear us, attack us, destroy themselves in the process?" "I'm not asking for war," Leora replied firmly. "I'm asking for understanding. For a chance to bridge two worlds instead of keeping them apart." King Veyron finally spoke, his voice heavy with authority. "Daughter, your intentions may be noble, but consider the risks. Humans are fragile, their lifespans fleeting compared to ours. Even if we find one willing to join our world, how long can such a union last? Would you doom yourself to centuries of grief?" Leora hesitated for a moment, her resolve wavering under her father's piercing gaze. But then she straightened, determination blazing in her luminous eyes. I accept those risks, father. Love isn't meant to be safe, it's meant to be worth it. The debate raged on for hours, growing more heated as voices rose and tempers flared. Yet through it all, Leora remained steadfast, her conviction unwavering. By the time the meeting adjourned, the council had reached no consensus, but one thing was certain. The princess's demand had set off a chain reaction that would ripple across Xylora, and perhaps beyond. As days turned into weeks, word of Princess Leora's audacious declaration spread like wildfire across Xylora. The court buzzed with gossip, speculation, and outrage. Noble families whispered behind closed doors, their daughters, who once dreamed of becoming queen, now seething with jealousy. Meanwhile, younger Xyloans, inspired by Leora's boldness, began questioning the rigid traditions that governed their lives. Among the dissenters stood Prince Kalian, a suitor whom many had considered a prime candidate for Leora's hand before her announcement. Tall and regal, with a mane of silvery hair that shimmered like liquid moonlight, Kalian was every bit the epitome of Xyloan royalty. He had always been confident in his position, assuming his alliance with Leora was inevitable. Now, however, he paced furiously in his private chambers, his tail flicking in agitation, a rare sign of distress among their kind. "She cannot mean this," he muttered to himself, pausing to glare at his reflection in a polished obsidian mirror. "A human? Ridiculous! How can she throw away millennia of diplomacy for sentimentality?" His pride stung. Kalian resolved to confront Leora directly. If anyone could sway her decision, it would be him. Their meeting took place in the royal gardens, where bioluminescent flowers cast soft, ethereal light over winding paths. Leora sat cross-legged on a bench, absently plucking petals from a glowing bloom while humming a tune she'd memorized from Earth. When Kalian approached, his boots clicking sharply against the crystalline tiles, she looked up without surprise. "Kalian," she greeted him warmly, though her smile didn't reach her eyes. "To what do I owe this visit?" "You know very well why I'm here," he snapped, though his tone softened slightly as he sank onto the bench beside her. "Leora, you must reconsider. This obsession with humans is beneath you. Think of your duty, to your family, your people, your future reign." She tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made him shift uncomfortably. "My duty is to lead wisely, Kalian. And part of leading wisely means choosing a path that aligns with my values, not simply following expectations." He sighed, running a hand through his shimmering hair. "Values? What values? You barely know these humans. They're chaotic, unpredictable, and entirely unsuited for life among us. How could you possibly build a partnership with someone so foreign?" "Foreign doesn't mean lesser," Leora countered gently. "In fact, it might mean better. Kalian, have you ever listened to a human song? Really listened? Or read their stories of courage and sacrifice? They feel deeply, love fiercely, and create beauty out of brokenness. Isn't that admirable?" Kalian opened his mouth to argue but faltered, unsure how to counter her earnestness. Instead, he changed tactics. "Even if you admire them, think of the practicalities. Humans age quickly, Leora. In the blink of an eye, they grow old and perish. Are you prepared to endure the pain of losing your mate so soon after finding them?" For the first time, a shadow of doubt crossed Leora's face. She glanced down at the flower in her hands, its light dimming as she crushed the petals between her fingers. "I've thought about that," she admitted quietly. "But isn't it better to love fully, even if only for a short time, than to settle for decades of emptiness?" Her words hung in the air, heavy with emotion. Kalian stared at her, torn between frustration and admiration. Finally he stood, brushing imaginary dust from his immaculate robes. "Mark my words, Leora. This fixation will bring nothing but trouble. But if you insist on pursuing this folly, know that I won't stand idly by while you jeopardize everything we hold sacred." With that, he strode away, leaving Leora alone amidst the glowing blossoms. She watched him go, her heart aching with the weight of his disapproval. Yet even as doubt lingered at the edges of her mind, her resolve hardened. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was determined to face them, for herself, for her people, and for the possibility of a love unlike any Xylora had ever known. Unbeknownst to Leora, her controversial decision had already begun rippling outward, reaching ears far beyond the confines of Xylora. Across the galaxy, whispers of her proclamation traveled along trade routes and diplomatic channels, eventually landing on the doorstep of a notorious bounty hunter named Zarek. Known for his ruthless efficiency and cunning intellect, Zarek operated outside the boundaries of interstellar law, taking jobs that paid handsomely regardless of morality. His scarred visage and cybernetic enhancements made him both feared and respected, and his network of informants ensured he was always one step ahead of his targets. When news of the alien princess's peculiar demand reached him, Zarek saw an opportunity too lucrative to ignore. Capturing a human and delivering him, or her, to Xylora would undoubtedly fetch a fortune, whether from the royal family desperate to dissuade Leora or from rival factions eager to exploit the chaos her decision had created. With a sly grin, he activated his ship's navigation system, setting course for Earth. Meanwhile, on Xylora itself, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Among those watching Leora's actions closely was Lady Nyx, the outspoken council member who had opposed her during the initial debate. Convinced that the princess's choice posed a grave threat to Xyloan stability, Nyx began rallying support among influential nobles. Secret meetings were held in shadowy corners of the palace, plans drafted and discarded, alliances forged in hushed tones. Though Leora remained unaware of these machinations, her parents grew increasingly uneasy, sensing a growing divide within their kingdom. Back on Earth, oblivious to the cosmic storm brewing around them, a young man named Arlen Harper went about his daily routine. A struggling musician living in a bustling city, Arlen spent his days working odd jobs to make ends meet and his nights pouring his soul into lyrics and melodies. Life hadn't been kind to him. He'd faced rejection, heartbreak, and countless setbacks, but his passion for music kept him grounded. One evening, as he strummed his guitar on a dimly lit rooftop overlooking the skyline, he sang a haunting ballad about searching for meaning in a chaotic world. Little did he know, his voice carried farther than he could imagine. High above Earth's atmosphere, Zarek's ship hovered silently, its sensors scanning for potential candidates. When the audio feed picked up Arlen's performance, Zarek leaned forward, intrigued. "Not bad," he mused aloud, replaying the recording. Raw talent mixed with genuine emotion. The princess might actually approve of this one. Without hesitation, he locked onto Arlen's location and initiated descent protocols. As fate would have it, Arlen wasn't the only one being watched. On the opposite side of the globe, a group of scientists conducting experiments in quantum communication accidentally intercepted transmissions originating from Xylora. At first, they dismissed the garbled messages as interference, but further analysis revealed patterns too complex to be natural. Realizing they might have stumbled upon evidence of extraterrestrial life, the team scrambled to decode the signals. What they uncovered sent shockwaves through their ranks. References to humans, to a princess, and to a demand that defied logic. While humanity remained blissfully unaware of the galactic intrigue unfolding around them, forces aligned and collided in ways no one could have anticipated. For Leora, the stakes grew higher with each passing day. Her dream of uniting two worlds now rested not only on her courage but also on the actions of strangers light years away. Strangers whose fates were becoming inextricably intertwined with hers. On Xylora, the political landscape shifted subtly yet unmistakably. Lady Nyx's clandestine efforts gained traction, drawing in allies who shared her concerns about Leora's unconventional stance. These nobles, fearing the destabilization of their carefully maintained order, began crafting petitions and drafting decrees aimed at pressuring the royal family into reigning in the rebellious princess. They argued that allowing Leora to pursue a human mate would weaken Xylora's standing among neighboring planets, inviting ridicule and potential threats. Their campaign was discreet but relentless, spreading unease throughout the court. Meanwhile, rumors of Zarek's impending arrival on Earth reached the ears of a rogue faction within the Xyloan military. Led by Commander Thalos, a decorated officer with a reputation for unorthodox strategies, this group viewed the bounty hunter's mission as an affront to their honor. Believing that capturing a human should be a task reserved for Xyloan operatives rather than mercenaries, Thalos dispatched a covert team to intercept Zarek before he could succeed. The resulting cat-and-mouse game spanned multiple star systems, with both parties employing advanced cloaking technology and tactical maneuvers to outwit each other. Amidst this escalating tension, Leora found herself increasingly isolated. Friends who once supported her began distancing themselves, wary of being associated with controversy. Even some members of her inner circle expressed doubts, urging her to reconsider for the sake of unity. Yet despite the mounting pressure, Leora refused to back down. She threw herself into preparations, consulting historians and linguists to better understand human culture and devising plans to ensure a peaceful introduction between her people and the chosen candidate. Her determination caught the attention of an unlikely ally, Elder Mira, a reclusive scholar renowned for her expertise in interspecies relations. Having spent decades studying less advanced civilizations, Mira recognized the potential benefits of bridging the gap between Xylora and Earth. She approached Leora privately, offering guidance and resources to aid in her quest. Together, they devised a protocol designed to protect the human participant while fostering mutual understanding. As events unfolded across the galaxy, Arlen Harper remained blissfully ignorant of the role destiny intended for him. However, subtle signs hinted at the impending upheaval in his life. Strange occurrences began manifesting around him, equipment malfunctioning inexplicably, strangers lingering near his apartment building, even vivid dreams filled with shimmering landscapes and unfamiliar faces. Though he dismissed these anomalies as coincidences, deep down, a nagging sense of foreboding gnawed at him. One fateful evening, as Arlen performed on the same rooftop where Zarek had first detected his voice, the bounty hunter finally made his move. Under cover of darkness, Zarek deployed a sophisticated capture device capable of rendering its target unconscious without causing harm. As Arlen sang his final notes, a faint hum filled the air, followed by a blinding flash of light. Before he could react, darkness claimed him, and his body slumped to the ground. Simultaneously, Commander Thalas's team arrived on the scene, having tracked Zarek's movements through hyperspace. A fierce skirmish erupted between the two groups, energy beams slicing through the night sky as they battled for control of the unconscious musician. Civilians below scrambled for cover, unaware that their mundane world had become the stage for an interstellar conflict. Through it all, Leora watched anxiously from Xylora, monitoring updates relayed by her trusted advisors. Though she couldn't intervene directly, her heart raced with anticipation and dread. The pieces were falling into place, but whether they would form a masterpiece or a disaster remained uncertain. For now, she could only wait, and hope that her vision of unity would prevail over the chaos threatening to engulf them all. As dawn broke over the cityscape, Arlen groggily regained consciousness aboard Zarek's ship, his head pounding and vision blurred. Panic surged through him as he realized he was strapped to a metallic chair, surrounded by an array of blinking consoles and unfamiliar instruments. The bounty hunter loomed nearby, inspecting a holographic map projected in midair. "Where am I?" Arlen demanded, his voice trembling despite his attempt to sound brave. "What do you want from me?" Zarek spared him a glance, his scarred face twisting into a smirk. "Relax, human. You're not dead yet. Consider yourself lucky. You've been selected for a very special mission." "A mission? What are you talking about?" Arlen struggled against the restraints, but they held firm. "If this is some kind of ransom scheme, let me tell you, I don't have anything worth stealing." The bounty hunter chuckled dryly. "Oh, it's not about money. Trust me, your value lies elsewhere." He tapped a few commands into the console, and a shimmering image of Xylora appeared before them. "Ever heard of aliens, kid? Well, congratulations. You're about to meet one." Before Arlen could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship, signaling the approach of Commander Thalas's forces. Zarek cursed under his breath, rushing to the cockpit to engage defensive measures. Outside, laser fire illuminated the void as the two factions clashed violently. The ship rocked violently, throwing Arlen sideways and loosening one of his restraints. Seizing the opportunity, he wriggled free and stumbled toward the nearest exit hatch. Just as he reached it, the door slid open unexpectedly, revealing a Xyloan operative clad in sleek armor. Startled, Arlen froze, staring wide-eyed at the alien figure. The operative hesitated, apparently surprised to encounter their target firsthand. In that split second of uncertainty, Arlen acted on instinct, grabbing a loose cable and swinging it like a whip. The makeshift weapon struck the Xyloan squarely in the chest, sending sparks flying and giving Arlen enough time to dart past. He sprinted down narrow corridors, dodging blasts and narrowly avoiding collisions with crew members caught in the crossfire. His heart pounded wildly as adrenaline coursed through his veins. Reaching what appeared to be an escape pod bay, he slammed his palm against the activation panel. The pod hissed open, and without hesitation, he climbed inside, sealing the hatch behind him. Moments later, the pod ejected from the ship, hurtling through space as explosions lit up the darkness behind him. Breathing heavily, Arlen gripped the controls, praying he'd survive long enough to figure out what exactly was happening. Back on Xylora, Leora received fragmented reports of the skirmish, her anxiety mounting with each update. Despite the chaos unfolding, a spark of hope ignited within her. Perhaps this human, whoever he was, possessed the resilience and ingenuity she admired so much. If he could navigate such peril, maybe, just maybe, he was exactly what she needed. Far away from the battlefield, Elder Mira monitored the situation with keen interest. Sensing an opportunity to guide events toward a favorable outcome, she activated a secure communication channel. Her voice crackled through the static as she addressed Leora directly. "Your Highness, the human has proven resourceful. Should he survive this ordeal, I believe he may indeed be worthy of your trust." Leora nodded resolutely, her resolve strengthening. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them, for the sake of her vision, her people, and the fragile thread of hope connecting two vastly different worlds. As Arlen's escape pod hurtled through the vastness of space, its systems automatically locked onto the nearest habitable planet, Xylora. The pod's rudimentary AI, designed for emergencies, guided it with precision, though Arlen had no idea where he was headed or what awaited him. Inside the cramped confines, he clutched the edges of his seat, his mind racing to process the surreal events that had unfolded in such a short time. One moment, he'd been singing on a rooftop. The next, he was fleeing for his life aboard an alien spacecraft. His thoughts spiraled between disbelief, fear, and a strange flicker of curiosity about the world he might soon encounter. Meanwhile, back on Xylora, Leora paced anxiously in her private chambers, her luminous eyes fixed on the holographic display showing real-time updates of the skirmish. When news reached her that the human had escaped in a pod, her heart leapt with a mix of relief and apprehension. "He's alive," she whispered to herself, her voice tinged with awe. For all her bold declarations, she hadn't truly considered how unpredictable this journey would be, or how deeply invested she would become in the fate of someone she'd never met. Elder Mira entered quietly, her presence calming yet commanding. She carried a datapad filled with information about Earth and its inhabitants, gleaned from years of study. "Your Highness," she began gently, "the human approaches. It is imperative we prepare not only for his arrival but also for the cultural shock he will undoubtedly experience. He may react with fear, hostility, or confusion. We must tread carefully." Leora nodded, her expression resolute. "I understand, Elder. But I also believe there is strength in vulnerability. If we approach him with honesty and respect, perhaps he'll see that we mean no harm." Mira inclined her head, impressed by the princess's wisdom. "Then let us ensure he is greeted appropriately. I suggest assembling a small delegation, trusted individuals who can ease his transition. And you?" She paused, fixing Leora with a knowing gaze. "You should be among them. After all, this quest began with your conviction." Leora hesitated, her cheeks flushing faintly. The thought of meeting him so soon sent a flutter of nervous excitement through her chest. What would he look like? How would he speak? Would he understand her intentions, or dismiss them as absurd? Pushing aside her doubts, she squared her shoulders. "Very well. I will meet him." The escape pod pierced Xylora's atmosphere with a fiery streak, descending rapidly toward a designated landing zone near the royal palace. Automated defenses scanned the craft, identifying it as non-hostile, and cleared it for touchdown. As the pod settled onto the crystalline surface, a team of Xyloan guards surrounded it, their weapons at the ready but lowered in a gesture of caution rather than aggression. Inside the pod, Arlen braced himself, his palms slick with sweat. The hatch hissed open, flooding the interior with soft, otherworldly light. Blinking against the brightness, he stepped out cautiously, his breath catching as he took in the alien landscape. Towering spires of translucent material stretched skyward, shimmering with colors that seemed to shift and dance. The air smelled clean and sweet, carrying hints of something floral yet metallic. Around him, the Xyloans stood tall and radiant, their glowing skin and piercing eyes both mesmerizing and intimidating. Arlen raised his hands instinctively, unsure whether to fight or flee. Who are you?" he stammered, his voice shaky. "What do you want from me?" Before anyone could respond, Leora stepped forward, her graceful movements drawing every eye. She wore a flowing gown that shimmered like starlight, her hair cascading down her back in silvery waves. Her luminous eyes locked onto Arlen's, and for a moment, they simply stared at each other, two beings from vastly different worlds connected by an unspoken understanding. "I am Princess Leora," she said softly, her tone warm and inviting. "And you are safe here. Please, do not be afraid." Arlen blinked, momentarily speechless. Her voice carried a melody-like quality that soothed his frayed nerves, though skepticism lingered in his mind. "Safe? You call this safe?" he replied, gesturing to the armed guards surrounding him. "Look, I don't know what's going on, but I didn't sign up for any of this. I just want to go home." Leora exchanged a glance with Elder Mira, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. Stepping closer, Leora extended a hand, palm up, in a gesture of peace. "I understand your fear, and I apologize for the circumstances that brought you here. But please, hear me out. My actions may seem strange to you, but they come from a place of hope, for my people, and perhaps for yours as well." Her sincerity struck a chord within Arlen, though he remained wary. Hope? What kind of hope involves abducting someone from their planet? "It wasn't meant to happen this way," Leora admitted, her gaze dropping briefly before meeting his again. "There is much I need to explain, but first, I ask for your trust. Will you come with me? No harm will come to you, I promise." For a long moment, Arlen hesitated, weighing his options. Escape seemed impossible, given the advanced technology and sheer numbers arrayed against him. Yet there was something genuine in Leora's demeanor, a vulnerability that mirrored his own, that made him reconsider. With a resigned sigh, he nodded. "Fine. But if this turns out to be some elaborate prank, I'm holding you personally responsible." A ripple of amusement passed through the Xyloans, though Leora's smile remained steady. "You have my word," she said, motioning for him to follow. The procession moved swiftly through the palace grounds, Arlen trailing behind Leora as they entered the grand structure. Every step revealed wonders beyond his imagination. Halls lined with bioluminescent flora, ceilings adorned with floating orbs of light, and murals depicting scenes of cosmic beauty. Despite his initial fear, Arlen found himself marveling at the artistry and sophistication of this alien civilization. In a private chamber, Leora invited him to sit, offering him a drink from a crystal goblet. The liquid sparkled faintly, and when Arlen tentatively sipped it, he was surprised by its refreshing sweetness. "This is incredible," he murmured, setting the goblet down. "Okay, so why am I here? Don't leave anything out." Taking a deep breath, Leora launched into an explanation, starting with her fascination with humanity and culminating in her decision to seek a human mate. As she spoke, Arlen listened intently, his expression shifting from disbelief to incredulity to something resembling admiration. When she finished, silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken questions. "So let me get this straight," Arlen said finally, leaning forward. "You're an alien princess who decided, out of nowhere, that you want to marry a human. And somehow, I ended up being your candidate." "In essence, yes," Leora replied, her cheeks coloring slightly. "Though marry may not fully capture the depth of what I envision. It is more than a union, it is a bridge between our worlds." Arlen rubbed his temples, processing the enormity of her words. "That's a lot to take in. Look, I'm flattered, really. But I'm nobody special. Just a guy trying to make ends meet. Why me?" "Because you survived," Leora said simply, her voice filled with quiet conviction. "Against overwhelming odds, you fought back, adapted, and endured. That resilience is rare, even among my own kind. And your music, it touched something in me, something I cannot easily describe." Her words stirred something deep within Arlen, a sense of validation he hadn't realized he craved. Still, doubt lingered. "Even if I believed you, and I'm not saying I do, how could this possibly work? We're from completely different worlds, literally and figuratively." That is precisely why it must work, Leora countered passionately. If we can overcome our differences, imagine the possibilities. Not just for us, but for everyone. But I won't force you into anything. This choice is yours to make. Arlen leaned back, exhaling slowly. The weight of her request pressed down on him, mingling with the thrill of the unknown. For the first time in his life, he felt like more than just a struggling musician. He felt seen, understood, perhaps even needed. I need time to think, he said finally, his voice steadier now. This isn't a decision I can make lightly. Take all the time you need, Leora assured him, her relief evident. In the meantime, allow me to show you our world. Learn about us, as we learn about you. Together, we may find a path forward. As they sat together in the tranquil chamber, surrounded by the hum of an alien civilization, a fragile bond began to form. Though challenges loomed large, the seeds of connection had been planted, and neither Leora nor Arlen could deny the spark of potential that lay between them. Over the following days, Arlen immersed himself in the wonders of Xylora, guided by Leora and a small group of trusted companions. Each new discovery, their advanced technology, their harmonious society, their reverence for art and knowledge, deepened his appreciation for this alien world. Yet, it wasn't just the splendor of Xylora that captivated him. It was Leora herself. Her kindness, her curiosity, and her unwavering belief in the possibility of unity between their species began to break down the walls of skepticism he had built around his heart. Leora, too, found herself drawn to Arlen in ways she hadn't anticipated. His humor, often laced with self-deprecating wit, brought levity to moments that might otherwise have been tense. His questions, though sometimes blunt, revealed a genuine desire to understand her people and their culture. And when he sang, accompanying himself on a borrowed Xyloan instrument, the melodies seemed to resonate through the very fabric of the palace, stirring emotions in everyone who heard them. One evening, as they strolled through the royal gardens under the glow of Xylora's twin moons, Arlen finally voiced the thoughts that had been swirling in his mind. You know, he began hesitantly, when I first got here, I thought this whole thing was insane. Marrying an alien? Bridging two worlds? It sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie. Leora chuckled softly, her eyes twinkling. And now, he paused, searching for the right words. Now I think maybe it's not so crazy after all. You believe in this, not because it's easy, but because you think it matters. That kind of conviction, it's hard to ignore. Her expression softened, and she reached out to touch his arm lightly. Does that mean you're willing to try? To see where this path might lead? Arlen met her gaze, seeing the hope and vulnerability reflected in her luminous eyes. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future that wasn't bound by the limitations of his old life. Yeah, he said, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. I think I am. Their decision sparked both celebration and controversy across Xylora. While many embraced the idea of uniting with humanity, others remained skeptical, fearing the unknown consequences of such a union. Lady Nyx and her faction redoubled their efforts to undermine Leora, spreading rumors and attempting to sway public opinion against the match. But Leora stood firm, bolstered by Arlen's growing acceptance among the Xyloans. To ease tensions, Leora and Arlen embarked on a series of public appearances, sharing stories of Earth and Xylora alike. Arlen spoke of human creativity, resilience, and the beauty of imperfection, while Leora highlighted the values of cooperation, innovation, and harmony that defined her people. Together, they painted a vision of coexistence that resonated deeply with those who listened. Even Commander Thalos, once wary of the entire endeavor, came to respect Arlen's courage and adaptability. In a private meeting, he admitted, "You've earned my trust, human. If anyone can bridge our worlds, it's you." As weeks turned into months, preparations for the ceremony began in earnest. The event would be unlike anything Xylora had ever seen, a blending of traditions from both Earth and Xylora, symbolizing the merging of their cultures. Arlen worked closely with Elder Mira to incorporate elements of human rituals, ensuring that his heritage was honored alongside Leora's. On the day of the ceremony, the royal gardens were transformed into a breathtaking tableau of light and color. Bioluminescent flowers glowed brighter than ever, and crystalline arches shimmered with intricate carvings depicting scenes from both worlds. Guests from across the galaxy gathered to witness the historic occasion, their presence underscoring the significance of what was about to unfold. Dressed in a robe woven with threads of starlight, Arlen stood beside Leora, who radiated ethereal beauty in her ceremonial gown. As they exchanged vows, promises of mutual respect, understanding, and love, the atmosphere shifted, filling with a sense of unity and hope. When the final blessing was given, applause erupted, echoing through the gardens and beyond. Later that night, as the celebrations continued, Leora and Arlen slipped away to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. Hand in hand, they gazed up at the stars, each one a reminder of the vastness of the universe and the infinite possibilities it held. "You know," Arlen said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I never imagined I'd end up here. Me, a guy from Earth, married to an alien princess. And I never imagined I'd find someone who could make me laugh, challenge me, and inspire me all at once," Leora replied, leaning her head against his shoulder. "But here we are." "Here we are," he echoed, smiling. "Guess dreams really do come true, even the ones you don't expect." As they stood together beneath the endless sky, their hearts intertwined not just with each other but with the promise of a brighter future for both their worlds, it was clear that their journey was only beginning. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by love, courage, and the unshakable belief that even the most improbable connections could change the course of history.